Welcome to the post-game show, folks. I'm Dan. We have Imagine that way, not that way, but that way. Imagine over there from Imagine 42 stream, and Oracle on that. There we go. That side of me. Fourth Oracle right over there. Morty does not have a camera. You can't see his smiling, shining,
sorry,
slightly radioactive face.
Hey,
Pushing.
I only have a faint green glow. Come on now.
Fair point. So we're going to go over and talk about all the different games we had today as I go over my notes here. I know what I predicted, Oracle. I believe you predicted the exact same as I did. I really, besides what we saw, I really had Overwatch picked to win Clamor versus Overwatch. But Clamor really stepped their game up this week.
They did. They struggled, I think, in the same way that they did before, but not nearly to the same degree. The coordination between the pilots was much stronger. They picked chips that complemented each other very well. And they played to their advantages rather than disadvantages. But they played kind of weird last time we saw them. But this week they definitely did a really good job of pinning down Overwatch, keeping really good track of them, making sure that they knew where the Overwatch ships were at all times, and taking full advantage of it, so that the moment that Overwatch made a mistake, the Clamor capitalized on it. And I feel like Overwatch left themselves way too open on the other side. Every time they stepped out, they were out for a while, and then they got into a mini meat grind where like one of them would step out, they'd be forced back, and the other one would step forward trying to distract them. But like, I'd say needlessly, because I mean it's not like the Junker and the Galleon are going to like suddenly rush up on you.
Yeah.
They felt pressure that wasn't there. Like the pressure was there purely from like the good shots from the gunners. Like they were just so afraid of that. Though the Clamor were active, and I was very impressed by that.
Now, one thing I think we saw a lot with Overwatch is positioning issues. They got split up a lot of times where I thought it was just unnecessary. They exposed themselves a couple times where they really didn't have to. What does Overwatch need to work on to come back from this 1-3 position that they're going to be in?
Their fundamentals and their coordination. I'd say more than anything, their coordination. Because we saw them splitting and trying to flank, get into the position, sort of, glow water it a little bit. But every time they did, it was uncoordinated. Like the Pyramidion would pop up too early and get focused down immediately. It's very difficult to try and flank from so far away when you're going up against like a Galleon and a Meta Junker. Like, and I'm like, this isn't just your everyday Galleon. This is, this is a Galleon that has the balls to take a flak. Like, who does that anymore? Like, who has this? Who says that they are bold enough to do that anymore? Like, nobody. But the Clamor did it. And when ships are coming in from that far away, and a Meta Junker and a Galleon with a flak are permitted to focus it down with dual Hades and Lumberjack, and then finish it off with the flak, like, what do you do against that? Like, especially with a Pyramidion. Like, you try and approach with the Pyramidion, that's all going to go into the hull. Like, what are you supposed to do except... like, they did do a good job of leading with the Goldfish a couple of times, and that's when Overwatch actually won those engagements. That's why it was 5-3, not 5-0. But whenever the Pyramidion had a moment where it allowed itself to be fired on, that was it. Like, there was nothing that Overwatch could do. And I feel like every time they split, the Clamor just said, okay, where are the Overwatch ships? Flare. Well, they're exactly where we predicted. Oh, look, the Goldfish is popping up. Okay, let's Lumberjack him real quick. And then as soon as the Pyra pops up, rip him to shreds. Like, I think that Clamor played it really smart. I'm going to ramble a little bit longer. I'm sorry. But I'm also very impressed at their ability to move and the decisions they made. When they saw that Overwatch was split, and they saw that the Goldfish was like facing the wrong way and didn't have a hope in hell in getting there in time, they moved forward, and like they didn't just gent it and sit in one spot all day. Like, they actually tried to force the issue when they felt like they had the advantage, and I'm very impressed by it. That's my little spiel on the Clamor.
No, that's okay.
That's my spiel. But I'm but I'm very impressed. I think that they really stepped their game up, and I think they have a strong chance of getting into the gold bracket now.
Now, one thing I really want to ask the whole group, we do have Morty, we do have Imagine here, of course. We know for a fact that Frogger is doing a little extra consulting and assistance with the Clamor. Do you guys feel that influence kind of helped them out here? Did you see a little bit of that happening?
I mean, I managed to watch a little bit of the game. It unfortunately ended before, while I was already doing the second match. But it's gotta. I mean, if nothing else, as a morale boost. It's like one of those things where the old veteran comes back to like teach the youngins, that sort of thing.
Wax on, wax off.
Yeah, but it's also it's always good to get a kind of a new perspective on things that you've been doing, the things that you could be doing, even if it's not just like specifically like, okay, in this you need to do this, you need to do this. It's just like another fresh outlook on how you could be playing it. Mm-hmm. And whether or not whether that's Frogger or somebody else completely, I think it had to have some sort of effect, if psychologically, if not from direct gameplay.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think the main thing that Frogger's taught them, watching and playing against some of the Clamor members in just normal matches, they never used to think far enough ahead as to where somebody's going to be. And as Forth rightly put out, they were on the ball completely today. Someone has been in their ear and told them, okay, if they disappear and you see the box turn this way, on the likelihood they're going to go over here or over here or over here. So just keep an eye, put a flare over there, just be safe, just be sure. And that paid dividends this week.
Very good point.
The prediction was great. Like they're just like, oh yeah, they're over there because like we're psychics.
Yeah.
Next week, the Overwatch team has Mad Hatters, and the Clamor is going up against a very, very strong now Riders team with Lulosi back. Their confidence back. I feel they had a very good game today. That's not yet though. The next game to talk about is the first one you had. Imagine BFS versus the Sky Invading Rhinos. That went 5-4 very quickly. Your match ended about the same time the Clamor Overwatch match ended. Very strange. What happened?
I mean, a BFS, definitely a kind of a struggling team. They came in without a win, and they played actually pretty well, all things considered. There was a really interesting. So it was Quad Pyra, and one of the Rhinos Pyramidins was a Carronade Gatling front, which seemed like really odd until they got into the first engagement and they stripped the armor and then just swung their butt around where there's a flak just waiting to tear through any ship.
Oh.
And so you had the first two BFS ships just get completely caught out as on Do It Dawn. They came into their spawn, just flipped around and absolutely wrecked one of the pirates almost right off the bat. And it was just like, oh my God, did that just actually happen? I cannot believe, that kind of thing could occur. Thankfully though, the BFS managed to fight back, and get some nice kills. In the end, actually, what ended up killing BFS for the last kill, one of the BFS ships had just gone down. Both of the Rhino's ships were basically full health, and Brick came in to try to bump one of the other Pyras out of the way at exactly the same time that there were shots coming from the other Pyra. And I think, it's kind of like one of those like, okay, well, the game's over. And everybody's just like, wait, what really happened? But I think what happened is because of the...
Rob, don't play the clip. I know you're thinking about it. I know that you're thinking about it. Don't you even dare.
So anyway, so basically the Pyra rammed in. I'm pretty sure they lost their hull exactly at the same time that shots hit it. And so the game ended.
They were trying to go in for the round, trying to get that last kill they possibly could, or just barge some space. It was difficult to tell. And they were being bombarded from behind by a Hades. And that Hades, must have been half a second before they collided, stripped that hull right off, and then hit them again.
Yeah,
So they
it
got
was,
the damage from the impact and the damage from the Hades just flattened them.
yeah, it was a very bang, bang, bang. But still, it was a really close game. It's Duel at Dawn, and when you have quad Pyras, like that's just kind of gonna happen.
Yeah.
It was good to see BFS putting up a good fight.
5-4, I'd say that's a good fight.
Yeah, definitely. They're still in a tough position though. They're 0-4.
That's tough.
No, I think that guarantees that they're going to the silver bracket. I think they're like our first guaranteed silver bracket
Them and Art of War.
team.
Yep.
Yeah.
Art of War, yeah. Art of Warfare, like it sounds like Art of Warfare has just kind of had the same problem the whole time, like whole Hephaestus.
Well, they finally managed to get some kills in last match apparently, and that was against I think HRA as well. So that's
yes.
Not bad.
That's getting some kills against basically. I think right now Thralls are technically number 1, but HRA is like right behind them. No, I think HRA is probably the top team right now. They have the most kills, tied for least deaths, and they're tied with Thralls for the amount of
We can check
victories.
this.
So yeah.
Let's see, 4 wins. Yeah, HRA
Yeah, so they have
has 19 kills.
The Thralls only have 15. So yeah, they should be. They should be
technically
basically
above the
ranked number
Thralls.
1. Yeah.
Yeah, they're technically above the Thralls.
And Art of Warfare managed to take a couple of kills off them. So it's hopefully they're trending up as well. But yeah, it is going to be a tough fight for BFS Art of Warfare and
This is Art of
remainder of the
Warfare's
matches.
first tournament, right?
They've been around, and I've seen them, in past when there were like the Sunday Rumble going on. I've seen them a few times, but I think it's really their first foray into like a really steadily major competitive. Like I don't know if they were in the Sky. I don't think they were in the Sky League. I don't think they were in like the Anvil and Challenge or anything.
Alistair McBain in chat is saying the Thralls are in fact on the top right now.
Thralls are on top.
I think there's some fuzzy math when it comes to the Glowwater Thralls versus Mad Hatters game that the Mad Hatters were not able to make it there for.
Oh, okay.
So I think there's something going on there. Honestly, on my rankings, I keep my own personal rankings every single week. As it stands, I have Glowwater Thralls, HRA, Sky Invading Rhinos, Riders, and Cake. Top 5 in that order, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of toss up between HRA and Thralls. I think, I want to say if the Thralls and HRA were to play, I think the Thralls would come out on top. But then again, the HRA just have stomped everyone so far. So, it's like, well, can I really make that claim?
Well, it's really hard to make a call. The reason it's really hard to make a call is because the Glowwater Thralls sort of have the X factor in this tournament. It's their ability to split teams. And HRA has shown that they are very regimented, and they're so solid. Like they are the most solid team in this tournament. I mean, you just can't break them. And so, I really want to see those two go at it, just because I want to see the Glowwater Thralls try to break the iron will of the Holy Roman Army. Like the Holy Roman Army. Well, they don't get distracted.
No,
ever. Like it's not like you can use diversionary tactics against the Holy Roman Army. It's not like you can really lure them away. It's not like they're overly aggressive. They've hit that balance of aggression and conservativeness. It's mildly perfect. But the Glowwater Thralls are so good at what they do. I want to see if the Holy Roman Army can deal with it. And I think we won't know until we actually see them go at it.
I'm not sure exactly what Alistair McBain means in chat by correct, Dan, but I think my top 5 matches the official top 5 ranking. I'm not sure what he means, to be honest, but
that makes
crazy
sense
if that's true. Anywho, what can Glowwater Thralls do to come back from this? They have to go through silver bracket at this point. We know that.
Thralls?
You mean,
Black Flight Squadron.
Black Question, yeah.
Bully Boys, what can they do to come back from this?
Right. Realistically, I think they've got to. I know people don't like the idea, but look at towards more traditional meta builds. They've always had some sort of wild card sat in there. Maybe a Gatling gun in a strange spot, or bringing a carronade, or
they've definitely been using mines.
Yeah, mines, which sometimes can pay dividends, sometimes can't. So maybe it's a case of try not to go for these little niche weapons and just make it as general across the board.
Yeah, I mean, they've been using a double Hades Pyra. And, I get the theory behind it, but
I don't.
maybe,
I really don't.
well, it's one of those things where, like, I think they want to use one ship to just sit out far, strip armor, and have the other ship go in.
Yeah, and it's also long-range balloon damage and harassment because you've got that extra fire damage to keep people a little tied up in something else. But
yeah, I mean,
but it's so utterly dependent on its ally.
yeah,
It's like, like it can't do anything alone. It can be obnoxious, but it's only I'd say, it's just more effective than a flak fish to make it an appealing option.
yeah, I'd agree with you on that one. I think
Maybe it's a bit harsh, but
No, I
No,
think it's
no.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other. They both are good in their own situations, but if those situations don't arrive and they don't have the ship, the ally to back them up in the right place, they're not going to do very much. I think you're pretty right there, really.
I mean, something to consider is that I think that their record is probably worse than that indicates of how they've been playing. I mean, they do have 12 kills, and it's which is better than some of the teams that have 2 wins, for example.
It's not like they've been shut out every
Right.
single time.
No,
And-
they made a
and
solid
I-
fight of it.
And I do see that from the first week, they've actually gotten better every single week. So who knows? Maybe next week is when they finally break through and get their first victory. It's at this point, I think they've just got to settle on maybe practicing some more, getting set builds up, really focusing on making the best that they can do with silver bracket playoffs. I just don't give up. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Even though you're down right now, just never give up, never surrender.
It's
Absolutely.
looking over the schedule too. Glowwater, again, I keep saying Glowwater Thralls. BFS has had a very tough schedule. First week, they ran headlong into Overwatch. They had a good fight of it, but Overwatch was able to outbrawl them in the situation. I feel like there were some misplays going on there too. Week 2, BFS ran straight into the Holy Roman Army, and they could not deal with the regimented skills that they've developed. Week 3, BFS was up against
Merry Men.
Merry Men, and Merry Men handled them very well. Merry Men simply outplayed them in that game. I felt they did a very good job with that. Week 4 was their off week. They didn't do anything this week. And this week, it was Sky Invading Rhinos.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a 5-4, and like really, it could have gone either way at that point. I mean,
Yeah.
they were probably going to lose that at the end because it was going to be a 2v1 situation. But who knows? Maybe you can do some nifty flying, and the game just kind of ends like that, to the point where some people in chat didn't even know who won.
Yeah.
So sometimes you have those losses, and unfortunately, the BFS team has just been on the losing end of every one of those so far.
Yeah,
but
they've had a very tough schedule.
Yeah, but I will agree. I will very much agree with Imagine. They have got consistently better and better and better each time.
Well, Sky Invading Rhinos are number 2 in the Anvil division.
Yep.
Yeah, they're tough. Sky Invading Rhinos, very good, very tough. I have them ranked 3rd right now in my standings. Moving on, game number 3, Riders versus the Mad Hatters. Oracle, I know you have very strong feelings about the Mad Hatters. How do you feel they did considering the weapon choices that happened there?
I understand the theory. I was actually talking with Catherine afterward, and actually she's waiting for a response, and I'm sitting here talking with you. But she was saying that the double Merc was a last minute thing. It was something that they hadn't that they'd only practiced like a tiny bit, because like they wanted something unexpected, something that that the writers hadn't like spied on and found, like dug up, and that they wanted something unexpected. But the problem they saw in practice, like I understand like the whole theory behind that. The problem though is I'm not a big fan of the double Merc in general. I mean, I don't feel like a second Merc can do that much more than a single Merc. It's
Then
like
why
you
not
might be
put an
able to
Artemis
shred
there
the
as
armor.
well? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not companion
That's what I
Artemis with
figured.
her?
The problem, I think the problem with the Mad Hatter lineup was really simple. It was they had no kill potential, and they were extremely weak in mid and close range. And you think, oh, it's 2 sniper builds, that's okay. They're gonna be playing, from far away. But the writers not gonna allow that. I mean, they have a Hades Echidna. And the Mercury doesn't have a great arc. So so that means that they can just, get into medium range, even if they get their guns disabled, even if they lose their armor, they rise up a little bit, they get out of arc of those mercs, and then suddenly, you're bearing down upon this Pyramidion and they can't do anything to you. That combined with the fact that I wasn't checking, I mentioned this after that match, but I wasn't checking the kill ticker, but I got the feeling the Lumberjack was perpetually like being damaged or destroyed. And so Schwerbelastung didn't even have a chance. They didn't have a chance to get that Lumberjack lined up. And so Schwerbelastung just had to take the shot that he could, like as soon as he could before it got disabled. And so those Lumberjacks, when the Riders were approaching, just were not landing. And so when you get to that point where the enemy team can reliably approach you into your suboptimal range and they have kill potential, that's it. But I really think that if the Hatters had had actually taken like a kill ship, something to, at least combat the Riders, Lumberfish, fine. No, that's great. I think that's a fine option on, I think especially on Dunes. But when you don't have the kill potential, and an enemy is closing in with a Hades Echidna, you really got to have something to respond.
Yep.
I mean, even if it's just something that's going to slow them down, like there's got to be something.
Yeah. And the other thing about when you compare even a single Hades to a single Mercury, the flexibility of arc of a Hades is phenomenal. It can shoot almost anywhere it likes from the front of the Pyrrha. Whereas the Mercury, okay, it can sit right here. Oh, we can go a little up, a little down. A little down. The flexibility is just absolutely in favor of the Hades, even if it was on Dunes and it was the long range setup just did not help them at all.
No.
It was an attrition build, but the Riders, the Mad Hatters ran an attrition build that could not force the situation to stay a war of attrition. Like they didn't have the builds for it. It's like maybe individually they're both good, but they needed something to keep the Riders down, and they didn't have it. Like double Merc isn't like when you don't have any hull shred, double Merc isn't going to stop someone from approaching. They needed something else.
Yeah. I mean, I watched at the beginning. I managed to catch the beginning of the match, and it did pay off us with some surprise factor against the Mobula right at the very beginning, but it just, like you say, just didn't have the capacity to finish it at all. It surprised them, and then they got over that surprise and came back.
Yeah, I saw the start of that, and I was like,
threat.
oh wow, they almost just killed both of those ships, and then suddenly, the score is way on the other side.
Yeah,
it's I don't. It's a little weird with the Mad Hatters to me, just because they were so good and so dominant for so long, and now they're really struggling. I almost want to say that this is the entire case for this Hephaestus challenge so far, is that some of these old, really dominant teams like Overwatch or Mad Hatters or, even PFS or to a certain extent Merry Men, they're not doing it. They're not cutting it anymore. And you've got these newer teams that are, historically or haven't been around or haven't been that great. And they're really stepping up their game right now. And it's like the old guard's got to catch up.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah. One thing we saw there, the Riders are back in business. Luosi's back with them. I think that's made a big difference comparing the previous match against HRA to this one. Luosi, again, really one of the hearts of the Rider team. It is good, though, that the Mad Hatters are back in business after that little shakeup there towards the middle of the tournament. They had some issues. They sorted it out. Clearly, they're back in business, and they can really start working towards the goal of making themselves one of the top competitive teams once again.
Yeah.
Now they just got to get some wins under them because
Very important.
they're sitting at 1-3, which is not so great.
Next week,
it's a little bit late.
Yeah. Next week, it is Mad Hatters versus Overwatch. I'm still struggling to try and figure out who I think is going to win that. Both teams, I feel, are struggling. Mad Hatters definitely have the capability, potential to pick things together, put things back together, and win that game. So does Overwatch. They're very quick learners. They're very good learners about their mistakes. Part of me wants to say Overwatch needs to drop the all disable builds at a certain point, and they need to put some kill on those ships. But I don't feel comfortable with that either, so I'm not sure exactly what they can do. Both teams, though, very competent, so we'll see what's going on next week.
Well, something we noted with Overwatch, just to catch it, they have as many kills as Thralls.
Yep.
So it's not like they haven't been able to, get in there and kill. It's just they haven't been able to, avoid from dying at the same time. So, maybe a little bit of an unfortunate factor there for them. Maybe suffering a little bit from the same that BFS is suffering from. Just
I think it's for that. I think it's the difference between killing and killing quickly.
Yeah,
that's those. Really doing it.
It's those what you see typically from what we call meta builds, that overwhelming force of just, say, a rapid-fire mortar or just a heavy ship slamming into a smaller one. That shock of, oh, God, we're gone. Oh, what happened? Rather than, oh, they've got us down again. Let's get back up again.
Last game, Glowwater Thralls versus Sacrilege. Glowwater Thralls, very dominant. They brought their new Mobula.
Yes.
Now I just want to.
Was magical.
Do you know what wasn't in that game?
Aspire.
What?
There were no Pyramidians.
No
Pyramidians
at all.
No Pyramidians.
Something else I'd like to point out. There's another kind of ship-related excitement. I don't know if I mentioned this, but during the in the Clamor and Overwatch game, every single ship was different. We didn't have any repeat ships, so it's not like we had 2 Pyramidians and also a couple of other ships. Like, no, we had a Galleon, a Junker, a Pyramidian, and a Goldfish.
Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
Hooray, variety! I mean, our first match was all Pyramidian. We had a match with no Pyramidian, so it's kind of like. But anyway,
nice. I kept calling the Clamor the Mandarins because I'm just like, there's a Junker in this match. That means it's the Mandarins.
Oh no, I used to sit there and think there are 2 Junkers here. It must be the Ducks. Oh wait, it's not the Ducks anymore.
Yeah. So this was kind of an unfortunate match for Sacrilege. They really needed a victory to keep pace with Cake. Yep. And the Rhinos, who they just won earlier that day. They're both at 3-1, and Sacrilege was sitting at 2-1. They needed to win to keep pace.
They got shredded.
They started out okay. They actually caught because it was a double Junker versus a Blenderfish and a Mobula. Now, first of all, is this a new meta where you got Gat Artemis going on?
I don't think it's new meta. Are you guys seeing it that much over on the Anvil?
So I saw it today, but I've seen it in non-competitive play.
Yeah, it's been a lot of practice with a Gat on the side of 2 Artemises with Lesmok charged and something else, either greased or heavy clip. And it's used as a home stripper and disabler, which is very strange, against Blenderfishes, so a long-ranged Gatling gun just focused on the front of that ship seems to be slightly more effective than trying to get that Artemis hit in while you're maneuvering a Junker. Here's
what I think. I think that with the advent of the Carrot, that sounds like a really bad alternative band. Playing tonight at the Smoky Bar. The advent of the Carrot. No, but the advent of the Carrot. People have realized, people are sort of aware of it, and every so often you saw it utilized, but the Artemis is a long-range gun with no arming time. And people, like with the Carrot happening, people started realizing, hey, wait a minute, maybe we compare it with other guns, because the Artemis is remarkably versatile. That's the reason why you still see it even after it got nerfed. It's because it can shred hull, it can shred components as well.
And it's very easy to hit
accurately. Yeah, it's easy to hit because not only is it extremely accurate, it's 100% accurate with every single shot. It has burst, and it has significant burst, especially if you load burst ammo, which is incredibly optimal on it. It gives you an extra rocket.
Here, I heard you like burst on your burst.
Yeah, exactly. So people are realizing, this is a very versatile gun that allows for approach because the Hades makes it especially difficult to approach enemy ships now that have it. So you have the Artemis focus down that Hades, and suddenly you have an opening for an approach. You don't have the kill potential of the mortar or the echidna, but you can actually get there, whereas the mortar and the echidna have trouble actually closing distance.
True.
Yeah, I mean, and they did have Gat mortar on the other side, so they could just swing it around. But it was just weird because both they're identical junkers. They were both Gat mortar one side with Artemis front, Artemis and Gatling on the other side. So I was just like, and I saw it earlier, just in a random match when I was in, and I was just like, okay, well that's new. But anyway, so they actually managed to catch the blenderfish at the start, and I mean they got it down to like a quarter health. And
it just was retreating backwards then at that point.
Yeah. And they just weren't able to finish it off. And in the meantime, Scrimscraw was doing this like, up and down thing that he likes to do with the Mobula, where he's just it was a really strange encounter to me because you got the two junkers focusing on the fish who's basically no components because he's just getting Artemis, managing to barely stay alive, and both junkers know that the Mobula is down below them. And the Mobula is just kind of like doing this, like,
Scrim does this. Scrim does this oscillation.
It bumped.
Yeah, it bumped on that low hanging arch.
But it kept on. But then it kept on going down, up and down, like even after that. Like it was, he was sitting down there.
That's what I imagine the worm on the end of the hook to look like to the fish at the bottom of the pond. Come and get me. Come and get me. You're not going to come and get me. Okay.
It's strange. Scrimscraw does this strange oscillation.
Yeah.
With the Mobula, and it's like, is that to dodge shots or is that to try and distract the opponent?
No.
Yeah, regardless, the game changed when the two Mobulas tried to go after the retreating fish. One of them was slower than the other, and Scream came up from the back, and that was it. Like that, you got the first kill, you got the second kill because the goldfish managed to get the carried up and pop down the first one, and then it was just a steady stream of really good focus fire from the thralls. Like, get that balloon down, go after the other guy, kill him. Get their balloon down, go after the other guy and kill him. And, Sacrilege did some, it wasn't like they were playing bad, but the thralls just played better. Like they knew exactly what they were doing with that combination of ships against the two ships that they were going against.
Yeah, it's almost as if they'd come across that same scenario before. Oh, we've fought this mode against two junkers previously. We know what we're doing. Easy peasy mode.
Yeah. As they're saying in chat, Scrim, a little post-game discussion there from that specific matchup. Scrim is saying they wish they took a lumberfish instead of the blenderfish for that.
Well, there was a time when, in the second engagement, when they came out of the clouds, disabled a junker, let it crash, and then just sat there, let the other junker fly by them, and then took him down as well. That worked fairly well. I don't think you could have done that with the lumberfish. You would have left your Mobula exposed, maybe to the gap mortar sides of the junkers. But if you've got a gunner which is good with it and can get those shots off on the balloons, then it could have been a good idea. Screw, could have been a very good idea indeed.
Okay. I think I like the Carinae blenderfish more than the lumberfish if you're going to pair it with the Mobula. I think because especially a short range Mobula like that.
No, I agree.
If you're going to be wanting to get in there with the Mobula, I personally like the choice of the Carinae fish better,
you want
especially
a
against
that's
double
going to be in there as well with it.
Now maybe if it was like a pyro junker, you take the lumberjack, but against double junker, I go with the Caro and assist your Mobula as much as you can.
Yeah, my thought. Sorry, but
no, go ahead.
It's that when you have a Mobula, I don't have the math to back this up. I could probably spend like half an hour and get the math down on paper, but I think part of it is that the Mobula, all it needs is a little bit of distraction. in order to survive, because its armor is and hull is just enough where it needs to like pop down, and if an enemy follows it, it doesn't really have enough time to repair itself. So that's when you need something else to come in and start distracting. Pull it away for just a couple of seconds, allow the Mobula to get its balloon back, to get its armor back up, and then it's fine. The problem is if there isn't anything to distract, then it suffers from its lack of like horizontal mobility a lot, because it can't. The vertical mobility is great for buying a little bit of time, but because it doesn't have great horizontal mobility, it cannot keep dancing. It cannot dance perpetually, and so you need something that can pull it away after the Mobula has done the initial vertical disengagement.
Yeah, I've been saying this quite a bit, and I haven't really found many people that agree with the same thing with me. But the way the Mobula is set up, compared to a lot of other ships, the balloon and the hull are much more isolated than other ships. You can't simply just run down a flight of stairs and get there. So it makes the tanking it, you're always losing 2 guns, or when you really, really, really need that balloon up, it's going to take a lot longer for the guy on the other side of the ship to get all the way over, drop down, get back under, and get it repaired. So those fast emergency repairs don't happen as easy either. That's why you need the distraction. That's why I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, that's why the Blenderfish is going to be better than the Lumberjack, is because the Lumberjack, it's like you're at range and you're kind of taking a gamble. You don't know if the Lumberjack's going to land. I mean, even if you have one of the best damn Lumberjack gunners around, it's still a gamble. But with the Blenderfish, not only is it a guaranteed disable, but it's in your face and it's going to follow you down. So I think that the heightened threat of the Blenderfish complements the Brawling Mobula very well.
Yeah, I mean, if you're bringing the Lumberfish with that combination, your Lumberfish better hit like 90%
every single
of his shots.
shot.
Yeah, like if you miss a volley, your Mobula is dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, speaking of that Mobula, it's the brand new Mobula build that Global Order Thralls has been working on. How effective was it? What were you guys' thoughts on it?
It's not the first time I've seen a Mobula. Of course, it's a slightly different build. They were using a Banshee, which got them a little bit nicer range, which is very good there.
Yeah, before that they had a dual mortar instead of the Banshee, so they've changed that out.
Sorry, but I was gonna say I mean I've seen them take a Mobula before. There were Sunday Rumbles when they were taking it on maps like Northern Fjords and winning against the Gents. So it's not like this is a new thing for the Thralls. Everything that you're doing is always going to be tinkered with. You're always going to be wanting to like, okay, what gun can I change just in this one position, make it a little bit better, or a little bit faster, or get it a little bit more range. And so as far as the ship choice, I wasn't very surprised because I have seen the Thralls take it. Of course, it worked out very well. Would it work out very well against a different set of ships? I'm not entirely sure. I think so.
I don't know. We've seen it.
I think it'd be excellent.
We've seen it previously. We've seen it eat up quite easily Pyramidians, Junkers, and a Goldfish. We've not seen it go against anything else. So I'm wondering whether or not it's going to do against a Carol Squid, outmaneuver that thing, and then it's pretty much nullified, but you don't really see a Carol Squid.
Or even a Lumberfish.
Or a Lumberfish.
That sort of thing. But very well flown, absolutely, and Scrim is very good at driving that Mobula. So I don't expect him to switch on a regular basis, but it's very much going to depend on map and setup and other team and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
Mobula builds are always map dependent, in my opinion. I mean, it's one of the few ships that you can't run anywhere. I'd say you can even make most builds work on Battle of the Dunes. I mean, because you have the cover, even though you have a long distance to traverse, you can still make things work. But
I probably wouldn't take it on Periton, however, just because you got that really wide body and your chances of bumping into buildings and such is going to be a lot higher.
I think that brawling Mobula builds can work in Persian Rumble okay if you have a competent pilot. I think I think it's fine if you can manage to maneuver between the buildings. Then the vertical mobility has extra potential in Periton.
Yeah,
Sure,
I
I'm
think
just saying, personally, that is not something that I would want to mess around
okay,
with.
okay,
'Cause-
yeah,
'cause
they'd have to be very confident.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to be very confident about it, and you also have to make sure that you're not going up against something which is going to nullify your movement, like overused flamers or carronades or lumberjacks. If you can keep your balloon up, then you're okay, but you can't make it on pirates, and especially you can't take advantage of the little bolt holes that the thinnest ships can get through, the little alleyways between buildings you can go flick through, stick a bit of spanner on and get out of the way. You can't do that with a mobula. You'll just slam into it and get stuck.
Yeah. That being said, okay, so there was something I wanted to say.
Go on.
I like the Banshee a lot. And I think that's the last thing that the Brawling Mobula needed to really make it a powerful competitive ship. And I'll tell you why. Yeah, I'll tell you why. It's because when you have so one of the things about the Gap Mortar, the reason that the Gap Mortar works on the Pyramidion, but I'd say when you see a Gap Mortar on a Junker, it tends to struggle a little bit more than on a Pyramidion. You have trouble, keeping the distance correct. And it's more than just, your stationary platform with the Gap Mortar. It's also because there's a range discrepancy between the Gatling and the Mortar, just enough to be a problem. So you take a Mortar, so you still have the kill potential of the Mortar on the Mobula, but by taking the Banshee, you have more reliable hull strip and long range hull strip. And it's not even about the range. It's that you don't need 2 mortars worth of hull stripping to kill most ships.
Yeah.
What you like, a Banshee and a mortar is going to be plenty to finish off other people. On top of that, you're going to have reliable hull strip. That's just more situational. But it's also that when you strip the other person's armor and you're doing that much damage, you're going to be throwing off chem spray cycles. And the Banshee, one of the problems with this Brawling Mobula build is if you don't get the initial kill, you lose. And the idea was just kill them immediately. But the Banshee gives you a little bit of wiggle room because the chem spray cycles get thrown off and they're like, okay, our armor's back up and everything is lit on fire. Shit.
At least to like 1 or 2 stacks. Yeah.
Yeah. It allows the Mobula to be in an extended engagement. It allows it to be more than just, one-trick pony.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Yeah, no, I personally really like the Banshee as a weapon. I think it could be used a little bit more, but it's also one of those weapons which you're gonna want to have it be kind of a situational use. But yeah, no, I definitely like the Banshee.
I'm looking in chat, and Zemkos, I didn't quite elaborate enough on something I was going to say. I was going to say the reason it's not a problem on a Pyramidion, the Gap Mortar isn't a problem on a Pyramidion, is because you're approaching. So the Gatling, you fire it as soon as it's in range, and by the time the armor's down, your mortar is in easy range. So that's
I mean, since you're shooting straight forward with the mortar, you don't have to really worry about the sideways movement that you get with the Junker.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Sorry, I just wanted to prove that I'm not a complete moron. Anyway.
Yep. So anyway, you were gonna say so anyway, as far as that match goes between Thralls and Sacrilege, I think it was really actually unfortunate for Sacrilege to lose that, because it's gonna make it tough for them to get back into the upper part of the Anvil Division standings. They're now tied at 2-2 with the Merry Men, and they've got Cake, Sky Maiden Ranos, and the Holy Roman Army in front of them.
Oh God.
Schedule.
They needed. If they were going to take an advantage, an easy advantage, their opportunity has passed.
Yeah, I mean, let me see what's their schedule like coming up. So let's see, they've got they're facing Merry Men next week, BFS, and Holy Roman Army. So can you pick up all 3 of those wins?
No.
Can you pick up 2 of those wins? Like, is that even doable? It's one of those things where like you're not safe at all, and they really needed this win to be able to keep pace, and without it, it's going to be hard for them to get back up into a gold playoff.
I've been going over the matches for next week as we're going over them. Again, Merry Men versus Sac, very well matched up together. Both 2-2. Both are struggling to keep the Gold League hopes alive. you don't fight a cornered animal because it'll do anything to get out of that corner. Literally anything. Both of those teams need that third win.
Yep.
Need that third win. So
Yeah.
And at this point, I would probably say that Sacrilege would just from the games that I've seen, Sacrilege probably has somewhat an advantage at this point. I would probably put Sacrilege over Merryman in terms of like ranking, but that doesn't mean that it's like a given that they'll beat them.
No.
Especially because I really thought that they would do a whole lot better. Like I expected today to be like a 5-3, 5-4, not a 5-0.
Angry Walnuts asking in chat real quick. The videos will be loaded up on our individual YouTube pages. For us, it'll be youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show. Imagine your YouTube page.
youtube.com/Imagine42Gaming. And mine should be up like about an hour after we're done here.
Okay. We will get ours up here in the next few hours and get them loaded and posted to the forums. With that being said, any closing thoughts you guys have for this week?
I talked way too much today. I've said everything that was really pressing on my mind.
All I will say is this league continues to be surprising. It continues to be exciting. It continues to deliver on basically everything you can possibly want in a Guns of Icarus competitive scene. So if you're not watching and you are a fan of the game, I don't know what you're doing with your life, because you should be.
Wow.
There's some very big ones coming up next week, guys. Glowwater Thralls versus DPA. DPA is on a high right now. They're really going forward strong.
Despite not taking a buff kit. Dear God, man. Find a place for it. I am so pissed off about that. It's like, we're watching them have trouble like approaching a ship. And it's just like, oh, I know, because you don't have buffed engines. Like, you have a Metamidian with no buffed engines. No wonder you're having trouble engaging.
Okay, I'll give you that one. Okay,
I'm sorry. It's like, I am inordinately bothered by this.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, we also have Overwatch versus Mad Hatters next week. Both teams on a bit of a down right now. Both of them are going to need another win next week. Absolutely need a win. Also, HRA versus Sky Invading Rhinos. That's going to be a fun one. That is going to be a great match to watch.
I'm almost willing to say that well, I mean, basically the next 2 weeks, you got the next two matches that Holy Roman Army have is against Sky Invading Rhinos and Cake.
Yeah.
And that's basically like it. That's whoever wins those is going to determine who wins Anvil at this point.
Yep.
Like if Holy Roman Army takes 2 of those, there's no way any of the other teams can win. So like it's really a dirty fight right now on top of that standings.
It is. Also, Muse versus Cake next week. Morty, not be pay attention to that one. That's gonna be fun. Hopefully, I'm predicting Cake wins that one, but it's gonna be close.
Yeah, and I still think Muse will surprise somebody else and take out another big team.
I think that's the week that Muse announces a brand new gun which only Muse can use. Oh, hello, Cake. Have a look at this. It's my super death cannon.
Yeah. Also, fire is removed from the game.
Also, you can't have fire. It's now a hose instead. It's now just a water hose.
Here's the thing about Muse versus Cake. Muse usually pulls in a couple Cake members for their game.
Yeah. It's gonna be like we always get on the Cake Sunday games, where it's gonna be all the Cakes split up and then just target that one guy they don't like. Isn't it, Dan? Isn't it very much targeting the one guy doesn't like, ramming my squid to tiny pieces? Do you mean
that one time I put lumberjack shots through your... Oh, right.
Shush. Anyway, shush.
Anywho, another big one.
I predict Cake. I think that Cake has the advantage over Muse more than you think, Dan. I have a little bit more faith in Cake there.
No, I think Cake will probably pull that out, but once again, Muse is one of those teams which I think every week everybody is going to be a little bit like, okay, maybe they can do it.
It's
probably
like
probably not, but maybe they can do it.
It's understood that they're not like this super practiced, organized team. But at the same time, you can't just be like, all right, free victory. It's like you can't let your guard down. And so people are afraid because like there's that impulse to just say, we're going to win this. It's all good. But then like you have that niggling doubt in the back of your mind going, and you know that you can't like just let it go.
Also, next week, a very big match considering BFS did not get the win this one. Art of War versus Black Flight Squadron. Both teams have yet to get a win.
Yeah, somebody's gonna break that.
Someone's gonna
break
get a
that
win.
seal.
That's
I know what you were thinking. I know what you were thinking.
Something's gonna pop.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I had to say it. I had to. I'm sorry.
I knew you were thinking it.
I'm
I knew you
sorry.
were thinking it.
with that being said,
You got to see our lovely panel of judges all face palm. It was great. It was a Picard level of face palm as well.
with that being said, that's been the post game show this week, folks. Don't miss next week a full retinue.
That's how we're that's how we're closing it.
Yes, it is. Starting right at 4 p.m. over on Imagine stream. The dual stream will be up again. Imagine first up, you have Sky Invading Rhinos versus HRA.
That's gonna be a massive game.
That's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be it, folks. Do not miss that one. We're starting with some big guns there, and after that, over on our stream, Ryder versus Clamor, another major matchup. Big teams moving right now. We're going to see how well the Clamor has improved since their early stumbles.
We're going to see how many people are hungover from July 4th as well.
Well, that's.
No,
I can
I'm
safely
so
say
excited.
that Cake will win now then because they're all not going to be hungover. What was that? What? Huh?
I am
sadly
so
true.
excited to see Clamor. Like I knew that Clamor was better than what we've seen, and this week was evidence of that.
Yep.
Like,
Thank you so much.
I'm really excited to see them next week
Yeah.
and like them really get into their game.
I wonder
Thank
how
you so
long
much,
we can have
guys.
this on.
Thank you so much, guys, for joining us here. YouTube pages, youtube.com/The Rob and Dan Show and youtube.com/Imagine42 Gaming. The Twitch pages, twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show and twitch.tv/Imagine42, the number 42 at the end of that. Everyone, thank you so much for being a part of this. Hephaestus Challenge, week number 5, closed up for this one. Don't miss the YouTube videos for it. Tell your friends. This next week is going to be a huge one. We're off the bye weeks. We're back to the full spectrum of ass kicking. It's going to be great. Thank you for joining us. You've been watching twitch.tv/The Rob and Dan Show.